Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. Really interesting. So what I want to talk about today is specifically how did the book do, right? So how did Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft do as opposed to Tasha's Cauldron of Everything? Did Tasha's Cauldron of Everything outsell Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft? Or did Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft outsell Tasha's Guide to Everything? We don't know. There's the answer, right? So it's really interesting to me. I'm very spoiled because I'm a huge movie fan. And one of the things that's really interesting is before the pandemic, the movie industry were very open about their numbers. You knew every single week by Sunday night exactly how much within a few million, right? And actually, to within 2 to 3%, you knew exactly how many millions a movie made. And I don't want to let this go unacknowledged, right? The reality is, in the old days, I think this is, and this is, I really think this is absolutely one of the reasons why we're seeing situations like what we're seeing with the vaccination issue, is increasingly the government, large corporations, and maybe even, I'm not sure. Yeah, let's leave it at governments and large organizations. They're very comfortable with numbers not being open, right? And in the old day, and this is a break, right? Because this is a break from tradition, in that the basically the movie industry allowed these numbers to be incredibly open, right? Now, to tell the truth, we still do get numbers back from financials that are put in, but the reality is Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro have zero incentive to tell the D&D community how their books are doing comparatively to each other. Now, does that mean we're stuck? Maybe not. One of the things I'm interested in is essentially number vectors, right? So what I mean by this is they're never going to tell us the numbers. However, how many? Here's a good example. If you took the top 10 YouTubers, right, and looked at how many videos they did on a specific book within the first 10 days, I can tell you right now, Nerd Immersion has done no less than 5 videos on Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. What did the WebDM guys do? Right? Did they do just their regular one video, or did they have a whole bunch of videos? Right? The other thing is, what was the response to those videos? Right? So we might be able to tell what books are doing better just by parallel numbers. Right? How are people responding to numbers on YouTube? And the other thing is, like, I'm really curious too, like, if you took Second and Charles and were able to tell how many they ordered, right? Though there might be ways to get a good indicator of which books are beating which books by paying attention, being savvy, and finding the reality without getting the actual numbers. The best example I ever saw of this was Sense8. Right, so Sense8 was a television show that was on Netflix, and a lot of people knew that nobody was watching Sense8. No, like, there were really no numbers of people enjoying and watching Sense8. But Sense8 had a small group of people who absolutely loved the show, and they desperately wanted to know if it was getting another season or not another season. And the way it came out is just some small little news source said they struck the set on Sense8 today. They struck the set, right? And that means they broke the set down, and they were like, pack it all up, right? And so there was never any announcement that Sense8 was canceled, but the internet just erupted, right? The moment they struck the set, the Sense8 people were like, it's done. We're not getting another season. It's finished, and it was. Like, Sense8 didn't get another season. It was all finished. It was wrapped, right? And I thought that was absolutely fascinating, right? Netflix refused to tell the truth about, and refused to answer the question that the community had. But the community got the answer just by being smart. And that's what we need to figure out. We need to figure out a metric right? That is within the perimeter, within the proximity of these books, so that we can know the winners and the losers. I want to know, did Tasha's Cauldron of Everything defeat Von Richten's Guide to Von Richten's Guide? Right? With movies, these numbers were given to us flat out, right? By the way, that's all over now. Pandemic destroyed that. It's done. There's no transparency in movie numbers now, right? That died in 2019, right? And going forward, here's the issue: the communities have questions, and increasingly, the government and large institutions, right, are saying, we ain't gonna give you nothing. We ain't gonna tell you nothing. But that's okay. We smart. We can get the answers, right? We can see when a set is struck, but we got to figure out the path, right? So I'm giving this some thought, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. How do we determine this, right? And the other issue is it can't take too much time. I could do this now. I've been thinking about it. I'm like, should I set up a spreadsheet, and determine how many views Nerd Immersion got on this book and how many he's got on this one, and then compare those numbers to WebDM and compare those numbers to maybe Ginny. Ginny, I don't think she really talks about any books. But all the regular the usual suspects, and see what their numbers are. Unfortunately, I happen to be blessed with a beautiful wife and 4 children, so I ain't got time for all that. But I'm curious. I wonder if there's a way we can get these numbers that is not time intensive and will give us the answers we want. I think there might be. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you have any idea on what kind of metrics we can use to determine the real numbers on D&D books? Because I really would love to know these numbers. That's my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.